The moment the eyes open, a silent test begins. It is not announced, it does not demand attention, and it carries no applause. Yet this is where the first battle is fought, and it is one that determines the tone of every hour that follows. Most men awaken and allow the day to awaken them. They wait for light, for warmth, for the comfort of their thoughts to settle before they move. This is surrender before engagement, weakness before action. The 1% understand that authority over the day begins the instant consciousness returns. They rise before desire can speak, before hesitation can gather strength, before the body whispers for delay. The act of rising is not simple. It is a command, a declaration, a refusal to submit to comfort. Desire is cunning. It appears as rest, as reasoning, as inevitability. It tempts with a soft bed, a lingering warmth, a few more minutes of unproductivity. Many believe that obeying this voice is harmless, that it is merely a pause in the inevitable march of time. They do not see that each concession strengthens weakness, that each surrender teaches the body that delay is acceptable, that each morning obeyed is a day lost. Rising before this voice speaks is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is establishing hierarchy between the mind and the body, between intention and indulgence, between command and submission. Discipline does not begin with grand action. It begins quietly in moments unseen. Weakness is cultivated not in the heat of battle, but in the warmth of a bed left too long. A man who cannot govern himself at dawn will not govern himself in struggle. Authority is built in these invisible hours. The mind that commands the body early learns obedience before necessity demands it. The mind that follows the body learns to obey excuses forever. I did not awaken waiting for motivation, nor did I wait for desire to speak kindly. Motivation is a fickle companion. It arrives only after action has already been taken. The body, when left unchecked, is a servant of ease, not of purpose. By rising before the body pleads for comfort, the mind sets the standard for all action that follows. Repetition strengthens this command. Each morning the act of rising becomes a lesson. The body listens, the mind enforces, and the day falls in line. Some men ask what difference a single hour makes. They have not yet learned the quiet tyranny of weakness. An hour ruled at dawn shapes posture, sharpens perception, and builds momentum that the rest of the day cannot erase. An hour surrendered to comfort leaves the mind scattered, the body sluggish, the spirit idle. It is in these early moments, when the world is still and distraction has not yet arrived, that power is claimed or lost. Authority is not given by circumstance, it is taken by those who rise to claim it. Silence accompanies this rising. It is not emptiness but clarity. In silence excuses cannot hide. The restlessness that plagues the mind surfaces, and the man who remains still learns what he must conquer. Distraction is powerful because it is subtle. It waits patiently until attention has weakened, then enters and displaces it entirely. By controlling the first moments, by refusing the seduction of noise, one preserves alignment of thought and action. One begins the day unbroken, uncompromised, untethered to weakness. The body senses leadership. When a man moves before desire commands, the body becomes obedient. Hesitation, however, breeds tension, and tension weakens. Muscles, thought, and breath align only when the mind leads without negotiation. This is the reason discipline is built in the morning. The body remembers obedience, the mind remembers authority. These lessons, repeated daily, become unshakable. The few who consistently rise before weakness do not require motivation. Their action is automatic, habitual, and decisive. Weak men often mistake rising early for effort. They imagine that by simply being awake they are doing something exceptional. They fail to see that the act is meaningless without intent. Rising is not a gesture, it is a command. One rises to rule the day, to assert authority, to meet life as one who already controls the battlefield of hours. If the act is performed without focus, without clarity, without refusal to yield to comfort, it teaches nothing. Habit without intent is as empty as a sword that has never drawn blood. Do not misunderstand this rule. It is not about rejecting rest. Rest chosen with purpose strengthens, rest surrendered to desire destroys. The difference is decision. Every morning presents a chance to decide, will the body govern the mind or the mind govern the body? Few choose the latter, and they are the men whose days are fragmented, whose thoughts scatter, whose potential erodes in silence. Those who choose command of the morning move with intention, and their steps echo throughout the day. There will be mornings heavy with fatigue, mornings when the body resists, when the warmth of the bed calls like a siren. These are the mornings that define character. Each concession on such days is magnified, each surrender recorded. Those who rise despite resistance forge themselves in fire. They train not merely to act, but to act when it is hardest, to conquer the self before the world imposes its chaos. Weakness is never defeated comfortably. It is met and conquered deliberately. To rise before weakness speaks is to claim autonomy. It is to declare that the day will not decide you, that the body will obey the mind, and that discipline will precede desire. This is the foundation of mastery. The mind trained in these unseen hours governs more than hours. It governs decisions, habits, and ultimately destiny. Those who do not train themselves first succumb to circumstance later, and the day slips into a series of reactions rather than deliberate action. The first victory of the day is silent, private, and invisible. There is no audience, no reward, no recognition. That is why so few achieve it. The power of this act lies precisely in its invisibility. The world sees nothing, yet everything changes. The day respects preparation, not explanation. The strong rise, the weak linger, and the difference between the two is cemented before the sun fully rises. Each morning that you rise before the call of weakness, you send a signal to every challenge, every choice, every encounter. You are already committed, already aligned, already in command. Weakness, having been denied its first claim, has less room to manipulate, to mislead, to distract. The simple act of rising early becomes a chain of authority that extends through the day, a chain that no one else can break for you. This rule is simple, but simplicity is often ignored because it is unforgiving. There is no philosophy to hide behind, no complexity to excuse failure. You rise or you do not, you command or you follow. Strength does not negotiate with the early hour, it claims it. Weakness flees when it is confronted, and discipline builds itself in the moments when confrontation is inevitable. The rising before weakness is both shield and weapon. It shields the mind from distraction, the body from indulgence, and the spirit from surrender. It is the first move in every duel with life that will follow. It is the morning that dictates the terms of the day. Once learned, this rule shapes thought, habit, and action. Once broken, it excuses weakness and invites it to grow. The moment the eyes open is the first battlefield. Conquer it, and the day bows to your command. When the first light brushes the world, the morning offers no mercy. It arrives regardless of readiness, regardless of intention, and it tests the man before any battle or choice has appeared. Most men believe the morning is there simply because they are awake. They are mistaken. The morning is contested ground, and it will claim ownership of the weak as easily as it embraces the disciplined. If one does not command it deliberately, if one allows distraction, noise, or desire to enter first, the day begins as an enemy rather than an ally. To command the morning is to assert dominance over the first hour, over the first thoughts, over the first movements. The weak awaken and react. They answer the phone, scroll the screen, sip the cup of indulgence, and call it habit. They mistake reaction for preparation, surrender for strength. The disciplined rise and observe. They move deliberately, measure each breath, and allow intention to lead where instinct or impulse might have wandered. In these hours, before the world demands attention, authority is established, and clarity is born. Silence is the ally of the one who commands the morning. It is not emptiness, it is calibration. In the quiet, the mind perceives its true state. It notices fatigue, temptation, and the subtle chaos that will otherwise dictate the day. Weak men avoid silence because it is uncomfortable. It shows them what they have neglected, what they have surrendered. The disciplined embraces it because in that stillness lies instruction. One must listen not to the voices of the world but to the signals of the self, the body, and the spirit. They reveal readiness, resilience, and the gaps that require fortitude. Movement before the day begins is equally vital. The body does not awaken on its own authority. It requires the mind to speak first to establish precedence. When the mind commands the body in these first hours, the body learns obedience. Hesitation, delay, or indulgence allows the body to dictate the morning, and a body that rules early will lead the mind into distraction. Strength is not built by sporadic effort under duress. It is built by repeated mastery in ordinary moments before pressure arrives. Every morning the world waits for no man. Noise arrives early, messages, alerts, notifications, the pull of obligations not yet earned. If a man answers these calls before he has moved with purpose, he has already ceded authority. He becomes a servant to circumstance, a spectator in his own day. The discipline allows these intrusions only after the first victory is secured, the victory over oneself, over ease, over distraction. One moves first, one breathes first, one thinks first. Only then does the world encounter a man aligned, deliberate, and sovereign over his own time. The untrained mind believes that information is power. It is not. Awareness without preparation is weakness. To receive news, opinions, or demands before establishing your own order is to hand control to chaos. The first hour must be for calibration, for alignment, for preparation. By commanding it, one ensures that all later knowledge and all later choices are filtered through a mind that already understands its direction and purpose. The weak, by contrast, consume information without control, allowing it to fracture their attention and scatter their intent. Commanding the morning also trains discernment. When a man acts deliberately, moves before impulse, and resists the seduction of distraction, he learns to recognize what is urgent and what is trivial. He practices decision when stakes are small so that when stakes are large, he does not falter. Most men who wake and surrender to the noise never distinguish signal from static. They confuse movement for mastery, reaction for discipline, and activity for accomplishment. The morning offers the opportunity to correct this error before the day has begun. Discomfort is a teacher that appears early. The bed is warm, the air is cold, the mind is reluctant. These moments are not obstacles but lessons. Each concession to ease diminishes resilience, each avoidance weakens resolve. By meeting discomfort deliberately, by moving, breathing, and thinking before indulgence, the mind and body learn endurance. The morning becomes a forge where character is tempered. Weak men sleep while their potential cools, the disciplined rise and temper themselves anew. The practice of controlling the morning is invisible, yet profoundly effective. There is no witness, no applause, no validation required. The body and mind align silently, and the effects ripple through every choice, every interaction, every action. Discipline is most powerful when unseen. The world will not recognize it, and that is as it should be. Recognition is the domain of weakness. Mastery is private, sustained, and unshakable. Time itself behaves differently for those who command the morning. It does not stretch, it is uninterrupted. Fragmentation is avoided because the first hour has been secured. Attention is whole, decisions are deliberate, and energy is directed rather than scattered. Weak men feel rushed and tired even with the same hours. They have surrendered them minute by minute to noise, impulse, and ease. Commanding the morning produces momentum that carries the mind and body into every subsequent hour with precision and purpose. The man who commands the morning also commands habit. Repetition in these early hours reinforces obedience. The body remembers, the mind remembers, and the act becomes automatic. By doing so, discipline requires no negotiation with desire. Resistance diminishes not because it is denied opportunity once, but because it is denied daily. The early victory becomes cumulative, and weakness is trained to hesitate where previously it had acted unchallenged. Weak men mistake rising early as a trivial act, but they misunderstand its significance. It is not merely waking, it is choosing sovereignty over oneself, establishing order where chaos waits, demonstrating command where hesitation lurks. Each deliberate movement, each controlled breath, each choice to resist noise is a declaration that the day will follow intention, not impulse. By the time the world arrives in full force, the man who has commanded the morning is already aligned, already decisive, and already prepared to respond rather than react. This rule is simple but unforgiving. It asks nothing visible, requires no external validation, and yet it separates the disciplined from the weak without fanfare. Strength is measured not by activity under duress but by mastery when there is nothing forcing action. Rising early, moving with purpose, and commanding the morning is that measure. The weak postpone, the strong enact. Those who neglect it risk their days slipping into reaction, their actions diluted, and their intentions compromised. Each morning that a man seizes before weakness arises, he teaches the body obedience, trains the mind in focus, and strengthens the spirit in quiet. The day becomes an ally because its first hour has been claimed. Weakness, having been denied its first claim, is reduced in influence. Momentum builds, clarity sharpens, and intention guides every subsequent act. The battle for the morning is unseen, silent, yet it determines outcomes in ways the untrained cannot comprehend. Conquer the morning before the world arrives. Let it find you in command, deliberate and unshaken.